Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name's Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And we're both art instructors here at California's largest paint sip studio, Purple Easel. Today we're going to be covering Erte, and there is a reason why you are dressed like a little flapper girl. Yes, we're going to be talking about Art Deco today. And yes, I love Art Deco. I love the style. I love everything about it. And I wanted to talk about Art Deco before we talk about the artist because I need the viewers to know what exactly Art Deco is, and that's going to make a lot more sense when we get into our artists. So what is Art Deco? Art Deco combines the style of early 20th century modern avant-garde with the fine craftsmanship of rich materials of French historic design. Art Deco represents luxury, glamour, exuberance, and the faith in social and technological progress. Art Deco is an influential visual arts and design styles characterized by a distinctive blend of geometric shapes, bold colors, elegant lines, and a sense of luxury. So you can see Art Deco style in things like interior design, architecture, theater, fashion, and advertisement. But where can you see Art Deco today, you might ask?
All over.
Yes, anything that was made in the 1920s, 1930s, the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building are monuments to this style. And you can also see it at the Queen Mary here in Long Beach, California. So if you are a local, check out the Queen Mary. I've been there millions of times. Not really millions, but I love. Have you been?
Have you done a haunted tour?
Yes, I have.
Oh, gosh. So we're getting married in Long Beach, and I'm planning on spending some time at the aquarium and the Queen Mary. I've been once before, didn't take like an official tour, but yeah, that style, all about it.
Yes, as soon as you walk in, it's just Art Deco. And also art historians will also say that Art Deco is kind of like a remix of Cubism. And you can see that in some of our examples that we're about to cover. So this is just me talking in regards to Art Deco. To me, there's two very distinctive styles in which I will call one of them wave of the future and the other fancy fashion.
Okay.
So in this one, this picture you're about to see is called Metropolis. It's a silent German film, super popular. But if you were to Google Art Deco style or anything, I think it's like in the Art Deco history books, this poster, because it very much is an epitome of the wave of the future kind of Art Deco style. And you can see that little cubism in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked before, Art Deco basically emerged after World War I, replacing Art Nouveau, which had died out. And so this was a slightly more stripped down version, but people were starting to get back to the glamour of life without war kind of weighing them down. And then, of course, World War II hit and it completely died out again.
Yes. So, yeah, and 1,000%.
Yeah.
And also, these pictures that I took are from NASA's JPL, and these are what, in my opinion, would be a more modern look of Art Deco style. And this very much harkens back to the WPA poster style with Ranger Doug that you're talking about in a few episodes back. So this is very much like wave of the future kind of Art Deco. Very simple, those geometric designs, but also, ooh, the future.
Yeah. Everything is optimistic now.
So Erte, our artist, is more of a fancy fashion kind of Art Deco than a wave of the future, and he is considered the father of Art Deco. And this is where I'm going to put on my little headpiece now. I'm going to grab my little headpiece. Deal. Oh, yes.
I see.
Yes. I hope it looks good.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So Erte is a French pronunciation of his initials, and he was a Russian-born French artist and designer in an array of fields, including like fashion, jewelry, graphic design, graphic arts, costume making, set design, like for theater and opera, and he was just kind of all over the place. So yes, he is dubbed the father of Art Deco. And in 1910, Erte moved to Paris to pursue a career as a designer. So his dad was an admiral in the Russian fleet, and he was like, son, you must carry on the family name down. That's my poor Russian. Carry on the family.
All the native Russian speakers out there.
Yes. And he was like, join the Russian Navy. And Erte was like, no, I don't want to do that. Bye. But he used Erte as a synonym to avoid disgracing his family name. So,
how thoughtful of him.
Yes. Very. In 1915, he secured his first contract with Harper's Bazaar magazine and thus launched a career that would include design costumes and stage sets. And here are some elaborate, schwanky designs. We're going to take a look-see. Look at that. Very glamorous. Glamorous.
Very, look at me.
Yes, very the stars, everything. I like this one. It's reminiscent of the headpiece.
Yeah, this sunburst. Like, I think of Art Deco and I think of like sunburst and kind of that whole celestial motif kind of, because it's very geometric and still of the natural world. So it's a good combination of that Art Nouveau kind of being pulled in, but reimagined.
Ooh, very. So we love the costumes. This one in particular, I would hate wearing. This is just a lot. It's
like a fountain.
Yeah.
It's like a fountain. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did they even construct that? Wow.
And I want to know, like, what was their role in this?
A fountain. You get to play tree number 1. You get to play the fountain.
That's probably what it was.
I'm here for it.
Between 1915 and 1937, Erte designed over 200 covers for Harper's Bazaar, and his illustrations also appeared in publications such as Illustrated London News, Cosmopolitan, Ladies' Home Journal, and Vogue.
Nice.
Dun, 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 dun.
The Gambit. That's awesome.
So here's Harper's Bazaar, November 1933, 50 cents. One thing I really like about this is just the perspective, but also how, like, the men are subdued and the woman, like, pops.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, right? Like, the men are just kind of background noise, and they're there to be the arm for the lady and she gets to show off.
Yes.
So that's very much that.
Yes, and I also like the roundy shapes. Again, very simple, bam, round, square. The next one also is one of my favorites. I love this one because she is the spotlight. It's just a big old round circle, but I feel like it has so much meaning to it.
For some reason, the green and purple is one of my favorite color schemes. And it often is used in like spooky tones, like you think of Maleficent and things like that. But I love it. And it occurs a lot in like the natural world. So I've done a lot of flowers and things, but I also will like combine those two colors in clothing when I'm getting dressed. And I feel like it's like the most underutilized color combination, but it really does something for me. So I am all about this.
Nice.
Especially with the large shadow and the actual figure is that pretty small. And that just kind of has a commentary behind it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Also, the green and purple is kind of like Joker.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think about that. Or, yeah.
Depends on what Joker.
But generally, yeah. See, it's that same kind of crazy spooky. I don't know why. Is it Goosebumps that did that for us? I don't know.
Maybe. All right, here's just some more pretty pictures. I really like them. I like this one a whole lot because of just the cut between the dark blue and then the white.
The strong contrast and even the line work, although there's quite a bit of it, it's so subtle. It's not black and white. It's gray and white, and I love that choice.
Yeah, soft on the eyes.
Yeah.
And then I just like this one. I don't know what's going on with the rooster, but I like the upward movement of everything, that flowiness, the wrap around her body, and then also the flames coming up.
Yeah.
Has a bit of a movement to it.
It sure does.
So by far his best image is the Symphony in Black, and it's been reproduced a bunch of times. Here it is. I like it a lot. I see why it's reproduced. It's actually not one of my like top favorites ever, but it is very pretty.
Well, it's got a very dynamic
it's very
positioning. Yeah, like just like it's got a strong triangle, but then the sweep of the furs and the headdress kind of contains it all.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it really makes me think of 101 Dalmatians.
I think it's because of the doggy and it's black and white. There's like a lot of kind of black and
probably.
white.
But there's that part towards the beginning, I think, where they're showing all the owners that look like their dogs, and they're both very sleek and legal and classy. So I'm totally getting that.
Doesn't the villain wear like a lot of fur?
She sure does.
Yeah.
Lots of fur.
Yeah, I've only seen it like twice.
Fur.
Okay. Yeah, I was never a big fan. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, like
So the Art Deco movement featured rare and expensive materials such as ebony and ivory, and like this really cool craftsmanship. But during the Great Depression, Art Deco gradually faded away, paving a way for more of a like international design of mid-century modern style, where we use like stainless steel and plastic and chrome plating.
yeah, things that are a little more accessible, especially since finances were a bit of a concern at the time.
There is that, but it's kind of also like, boo, it looked cooler back then.
Yeah.
The modern style is cool, not gonna lie, but it's more eco-friendly, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is just something about walking into like an Art Deco style building. Like there's some in downtown LA. Just the doors are so pretty and the tile on the floor. Like everything is intentional and it feels well produced.
I think that's why I like it so much. But there was a revival in Art Deco a little bit in the 1960s. I'd like to think that it was kind of like that mod look, a little bit like mashup. I don't know if I'm wrong in that, but that's kind of what I feel. And Erte had a second comeback. So he created serigraphs, limited edition prints, and bronze sculptures. And here's some bronze sculptures. I really love them. My mom, which I call Bob, we all know her as Bob, she would definitely have these like in her home.
Yeah.
And the next one that you're going to see also is really cool because we can put these pictures kind of like, not side by side, but we can kind of flip-flop between these two pictures. So the one that you're seeing, the bronze one, cool. But if you look at the next picture, that was the original, is that costume. So there's Erte with the costume, and it's cool because it looks like there's a bunch of like little masks or something on the fabric, and then the bronze statue of said costume.
I feel like he really started to study ancient Egypt or something in that time because I'm seeing a lot of the influence here.
Yeah.
Just in the shape and that whole like collar fit. I feel like earlier Art Deco didn't have that as prominently. And you mentioned how it had a revival in the 60s. I think 101 Dalmatians was made in the 60s. I could be wrong, but that seems about the right timeline. And there are a lot of like, if you look at the style of clothing of that movie, they're not dressed up for anything. They're not high society, so you don't get the like flapper kind of, but you get the more day-to-day look with the little cap and then the guys with their suits. So
You're right.
I think maybe that is all tying in.
Yes. 101 Dalmatians. So Erte is most famous for his elegant fashion. His delicate figures and sophisticated glamorous designs are easily recognizable. His ideas are still influenced in fashion in 21st century. And we'll just close with a little cute picture of him and his cat.
His cats.
His cats. And I think this picture in particular is so reminiscent of his work.
Yeah.
His pose, his legs, the shoe pointing, and then kind of like this flamboyancy, like, in the back with the palm tree is very giving. It's just giving.
The palm tree is the sunburst, essentially, and he's wearing an all black dark suit, so a same figurative, like, it really, man, it epitomizes it. That's amazing. And if you, so the, even the railing totally makes me think of Hearst Castle. Have you ever been?
No.
So, William Randolph Hearst, big newspaper mogul in New York, had a ranch in California, San Simeon, and he would have all the movie stars and all the glitz happening at his place all the time. But I've taken a tour, and it is a stunning example of, there's so much. There's a lot of like Greek revival things happening there as well. So it's kind of a mixture of things, but you can tell like this was happening in the heyday of the 20s.
Interesting.
It's really cool.
So segueing into the next artist that I want to highlight, and this is probably the first artist that I've highlighted that has like 1 million like followers or whatever, but there's a very, very, very good reason why I want to highlight Kamui Cosplay. So our last artist, Erte, did a lot of costume design. And what do we do now? Costume design / cosplay.
Yep.
So the reason why I want to shout her out, and I'm 99.9% sure that her husband, Benny, it's Svetlana and her husband, Benny, and they've been 19 years into like cosplaying. They've made 53 costumes. They've done a bunch of props. And the reason why I want to highlight them is because they're really, really good source of like resources and how to do things. If you are getting into costumes, if you're getting into cosplay, they have so much resources. And I want, Purple Easel Spotlight to be an area where we spotlight artists, but also a place of resources. Yep. I think that's very important because if you don't have, like, for instance, I like to dress up, don't we all? But I don't have like one of those mannequin kind of things where you can stick things. Yeah. She makes it to where you can put like plastic saran wrap around your body, put duct tape around your body, outline what areas you want to cut out. Yeah. And I've never thought of that before. You place them, and now you have a template of your own body.
Made a pattern, basically.
That's exactly. Crazy. Yes. And so I've gotten a lot of tips and tricks. And when you go to their website, they have an area of like materials, and you click on it, and it shoots you to a page on Amazon where you can find said materials that you're looking for. So a lot of resources.
They're not hoarding.
Yes, there is
That's the best.
Yes, they're not
hoard
gatekeeping.
Info. Help each other.
Absolutely.
Oh man, it's amazing to see like how something progresses when you share information. They might not use it the exact same way you're using it, and they'll think of a different application, and you're just like, what?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. It's very exciting and gratifying as an artist to see people running with something that you've provided.
Absolutely. So if you go to like their Instagram or TikTok, you'll see these quick little videos. If you go to YouTube and then the website, you get a more in-depth, like, this is how we did it, step by step.
Oh,
exactly.
Very cool.
So it's just really cool to watch. And one thing that's very interesting about just art and creating things is watching the process. Back in the days, they would just show you the art and it was like, that's it. Yeah. But in today's society, I think it's very interesting that the process of watching the person create the thing is like almost like as satisfying, if not more satisfying than the end result.
And part of that, I think, is with their kind of more disposable culture, seeing the work go in and the transformation that occurs is part of the magic. Just yesterday, my dad and I got sucked into like a 20-minute video of a man who is a hatter. Okay. And just for the record, a hatter is a guy who makes hats for men. A milliner is a person who makes hats for women. But it was a hatter, and his son's favorite hero wears a fedora. So it showed the whole process of him and his son making a fedora for him, and then a little holster, and then a holder for the rope, and a little sling bag, and then he threw on the leather jacket, and he was like dead ringer 5-year-old Indiana Jones. It was the most incredible thing ever, but just the process of how he like trims the hat and steams it and gets the felt shaped, and oh man, it's amazing. There's such an artistry in that level of craftsmanship, and you totally see it with her work.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even the details and the texture that she gets is really nice.
Yeah, and all the like weapons and stuff. There's a sculptural form to it, everything that she's doing. Oh man, it's incredible. No wonder she's as popular as she is.
So this last picture that I wanted to talk about is basically just, I like how she puts out there that this was what I started with. From beginner to pro, you have to start somewhere. And I think that's such an inspirational thing to put out there. I don't know, because
absolutely
we're trying to encourage artists, and she's doing it by being like, look, this is where I started. You have to start somewhere. You have to do it scared, and you have to, you just, even if you're bad, everyone starts somewhere. We all have to start at the beginning. So
absolutely. And starting is the hardest part. It's like starting any new habit. If you are trying to cut out sugar, or you're trying to go to the gym, getting over that hump of starting is the most challenging. So once you've started, just keep at it.
So my question to you, dear Megan, is what is your favorite time, like art time period, and why?
Kind of what we've been talking about. I mean, I love Art Deco specifically, but I'm just going to say that whole time frame kind of the end of the 1800s into the 1900s. It covers a few art periods, but I just think there was so much happening and so many different styles all kind of convalescing together, and it really reflects the world at the time.
Yes, that is so
it's
true.
Very exciting for me, and from like a historical perspective, from just artistically looking at things as simple as composition, like that time period is for me the golden era.
Okay. That's a good answer. I think I'm pretty much in the same boat because it's cool to see how everyone was inspired by people outside of their own country. It's like France inspired this, and then Japan inspired this, and then people liked the people or the art.
Things kind of more global.
Yeah.
A little bit more accessible at that point. Yeah. I mean, not like now with the internet, but there was a lot more cross-contamination. And it spurred a lot more creativity.
Definitely.
Art Deco really took the bull by the horns, and I think a lot of its success and its prominence is because people were willing to, let me try that and apply it to this. And because it infiltrated everything, but it just goes to show you, start somewhere. If it weren't for Arte, we wouldn't have had this huge classic period that has, stayed in hearts and minds of everybody. And then for the cosplay too, it's the same thing. Start somewhere and just see what can happen, because you might be surprised and it could be pretty dang amazing.
Yeah, and someone has to do it. It's crazy because it's that someone has to do it thinking you see it in like hindsight, not when you're doing it. You're not trying to be like, oh, I'm going to revolutionize. Yeah, it just happens. You just do it.
Sets out to do that.
No,
that's the brain and Pinky in the Brain.
Yeah.
Like most normal people have an immense effect never planning.
Exactly. So just do it. And from all of us here at Purple Easel, thank you so much for tuning in.
Make sure to check out today's artists, Erte and Kamui Cosplay, in the links below.
Join us at purpleeaselplus.com to paint with the world's largest paint sub studio online.
And if you're in Southern California, make sure to swing by the studio, come hang out with us. In the meantime, create more and create often.
Bye. And from all of us here at Purple Easel, thanks so much for tuning in.